Welcome to my channel where we cover the lore of Final Fantasy XIV. We cover the stories both big and small, the epic and the cute, the silly and the tragic. I hope you all enjoy the ride, and welcome to the Chronicler of Lore. On the first, there are some powerful sin eaters called the Cardinal Virtues that walk around the land looking like the fallen warriors of light who caused the flood. At first, people had given up on hunting them down, but after the warrior of darkness took down the light warden at Holminster Switch and restored the darkness, the virtue hunters decided to continue their hunt. And of course you decide to join in because taking down these light warden level sin eaters can only be good for the first. The Mikote Lurik is one of those virtue hunters, and he recently lost his partner, so he's in the market for another one. Since you look like you know your way around a weapon, you'll make a perfect addition to the team, but only if you're more than just tough looking. Since he's going after one of the four virtues, he needs someone strong by his side. At least he's not dumb enough to think he can do this job alone, and even though you look tough, he decides to test your skills before he officially makes you a partner. Out in Lakeland, Lurik pays someone to bring him some bait to lure out a large monster for you to fight, which is kinda stupid because there are monsters everywhere. He didn't need to throw away money like that, but he's rich, so that's his business. You make short work of the creature that shows up, and satisfied with your performance, Reek takes you back to the Crystarium to have a feast to celebrate the birth of your new partnership. After he eats a lot, it's time to talk some business. The virtue that he's after is Andreia, the Sin Eater version of Renda-Rae, the warrior of light who shot Alizé when they came to the source during Heavensward. When she was alive, she was a well-known hunter of great beasts and monsters, and now she's been seen all over the realm, popping up and taking down large beasts. That wouldn't be a problem if it wasn't for the fact that the animals she kills turn into Sin Eaters, and since they were already strong beasts, they become even stronger Sin Eaters. Reek chose her because she was the greatest hunter in the world, and beating her would be a good way to get famous. And of course you'd be helping people too, which is why you agree to work with the boy, even though there's a good chance he'll get you killed. Apparently he's hired someone to track down Renda-Rae, and she shows up to let you know that the virtue was recently seen in Amarang. There was some type of spider there that had been a problem for the people before, but is even worse now that she's turned it. Reek pays her for the news, pointing out how it's easier to just pay people to do the detective work than it is to do it yourself. That's true for some things, but not in situations like this. You don't get better if you pawn off responsibilities on the other people. But that's not a lesson he'll learn now because you have to head to Amarang to a place called Samiel's Backbone to hunt down Renda-Rae's new spider Sin Eater. The desert is a big place, and while Reek wanted to hire some people to do the searching for him, there's no one around that he can pay, so the two of you split up to track down the creature. You find it, although it's more of a scorpion than a spider, and after you kill it, Renda-Rae shows up. When you see her, the Echo shows you a vision of Renda and two other hunters as they track down an elite S-rank hunt monster called Balaam Keats. There's a big bounty on it, which will have the people singing songs about whatever hunter brings it down. And of course they'll be filthy rich too, which is always a plus. Renda and her friends attack, but Balaam drops her with a roar and kills her two friends. She survives and vows to take down the creature to avenge them. When the echo fades, Renda-Rae is gone, and Reek is there, extremely confused by the way you were thrashing around. Apparently you don't just sit still when the echo takes over, which means it's a lot more inconvenient than you thought. What if you get a vision while you're standing on the edge of a cliff or something? Might end up waking up dead. When you tell him about your powers and the vision you saw, he swears that he heard that story before, but he can't remember where, so he shrugs it off, and y'all head back to the Crystarium where he buys another meal to celebrate your lack of really accomplishing anything. Reek just likes to spend money as much as Giat likes to drink. He decides to hire some more people to track down leads for him, and while you question his rapid spending of money, he lets you know that it's not a big deal. His hired hands find information that shows that Renda-Rae was seen in Kalusia, where she transformed a giant bear into a Sin Eater, so naturally the two of you head out to deal with it. Out in Kalusia, the two of you split up again to track down the bear, but it seems like another group of hunters actually beat you to it. The group is led by a man named Landbeard, and the reason his crew beat you there is simple. If someone will sell information to one person, they'll sell it to another. and Lambert paid the people more to give him the info first. He's more curious about why Reek is working with someone else to hunt Renda-Rae after he had left him, saying how he didn't need help to hunt the Virtue. Not like he really cares, since his group will get her first. He leaves, but not before warning you to leave Lurik before everything goes bad like he knows it will. Once he's gone, Reek lets you know that he and Lambert had been working together to get stronger so they could take down the Virtue, but after realizing that Lambert wasn't that good of a hunter, he decided they couldn't work together anymore. Lambert hadn't liked that, so he'd found his own crew and decided to take the Virtue down before Reek just to spite him. Apparently he's good at tracking the eaters, so to make sure he doesn't lose to his old ally, Reek decides that it'll be best if you focused on the Virtue herself and not the sin eaters that she turns. Which means it's time to go to the Crystarium, but first he needs to stop in Yulmore, and he wants you to come with him. In the city of debauchery, you meet the source of Lurik's money, his parents. He tries to tell his father about what the two of you are working on, but as long as he doesn't ruin the family's good name, his dad doesn't care what he does. He doesn't even give his son any attention. He just tosses him some money to keep him out of his face. His dad is so disinterested that it even irritates the Warrior of Light, especially when you see that what Lurik really wants isn't money, but his dad's attention. The boy is so mad that he storms off without even taking the money. Back at the Crystarium, he lets you know that he's a free citizen of Yulmore and enjoyed a very rich, luxurious, and boring life, which is why he left the city and became a bounty hunter. He wanted to keep his upbringing a secret, but since the two of you are working so closely together, he figured it was best that you knew, as long as you keep it to yourself. So now that you know who he is, it's time to get back to your Virtue hunt. But since he refused his father's money, you'll have to do the detective work yourselves this time, exactly how you were supposed to do it in the first place. Of course, he won't be able to pay you either, but that wasn't why you were there in the first place. Without his money, Lurik has no idea how to seek out leads, but the vision you had of Renda-Rae and her friends could lead to a clue. He had thought he'd heard the story before, and it turns out that his nurse had told it to him when he was a little kid. The story of the hunter and her friends, who went on a quest to take down a great horned beast. They fought it in the desert where it overpowered them, killed her friends, and left her alive to seek vengeance. The story is exactly what you saw, meaning that the hunter who Lurik admired the most was actually Renda-Rae. There's more to the story, but he's having a hard time remembering it, so he figures it'll be good to ask Ovara, his former nurse, because it could have a clue that puts you on the right track. Since each of the Virtues seem to be driven to do things based off of their memories from the time they were alive, he might be right. Seems like Lurik can figure things out on his own when he doesn't have money to just throw at his problems. Ovara lives in Gate Town outside of Yulmore, so that's your next stop. She had been bonded to Lurik's family and allowed to live in Yulmore, but once he reached the age where he no longer needed a nurse, she was forced to leave. At least she wasn't made to leave out of a window like some of the other people from the city. She's happy to see her little Reek, but she knows he didn't just drop by to say hi. She didn't, however, expect him to be asking about Renda-Rae, but she definitely remembers the stories. She knew the Warriors of Light had been heroes despite what happened at the end of their lives, and she wanted to keep their stories alive, but since they were all disgraced, she decided to change their names, which confirms for Reek that the reason he had taken up the bow in the first place had been to follow in the footsteps of one of the Warriors of Light. He asked Ovara to tell him about Renda's hunt for the beast that killed her friends again, and she does have some details that help. Renda's hearing had always been beyond the norm, which is what made her such a good hunter. It's also why Balaam's roar had paralyzed her and forced her to watch her friends die. After that, she met Ardbert and the other Warriors of Light, and they all traveled together. They became friends and got stronger. She even learned how to defend herself from sounds like the one Balaam emitted. Then one day, while they were in Raktika, she heard a rumor that Balaam had been seen in the swamps there, and she went after it alone because she didn't want to put any more of her friends in danger to fight this beast. But as the story goes, she didn't need the help anyway. She'd gotten strong enough to solo the creature, and she went back to Ardbert and the others, never telling them what happened, her vengeance complete. Thinking on where you've seen Renda up until now lets you know that she's been following the path of her hunt for Balaam, meaning her next destination is the Raktika Greatwood, and if you're lucky, the two of you can catch her there. With what you and Lurik learned from Ovara, you head to the Raktika Greatwood to try and catch Renda-Rae. She indeed shows up, and of course when you get ready to fight, Deco takes over to try and get you killed. You see Renda when she faced Balaam in the woods. However, things are different from the story that you heard. While she was strong enough to take the beast alone in the tail, the way things really went was not good at all. The beast was still too strong for her to beat, but before it could kill her, Ardbert and the others show up, and together they help Renda get her revenge. Lamit wants to know what made her do something so stupid as to attack by herself when it would have been pretty easy to beat the thing if she had just told him from the beginning. So Renda finally tells them about her old partners and how they had hunted creatures all across Novrant together, earning the title of the best hunters in the business. Then they decided to hunt Balam Keats, and it all went bad. Her friends were killed, and she was alone until she met Ardbert and the others. She had planned on telling them and getting their help on her hunt, but she didn't want to lose any more friends fighting the thing, so she kept it to herself. While her feelings are understandable to Ardbert, her running off alone spits in the face of everything they're supposed to mean to each other. It was selfish, especially considering how all of them would have felt if they had shown up to find her dead. Not to mention the fact that she saved all of their lives before, so it's just plain rude to not let them return the favor. Honestly, seeing Renda with Ardbert and the others is like watching the Scions. They're a true team, a family, just like the Source's Warrior of Light and the Scions of the Seventh Dawn, and that makes the ending of their story all the more tragic, especially since you all might share their fate one day. The vision ends after Renda retrieves an odd crystal from beside the fallen creature that Silva tells her to keep as a memento, and when you wake up, Lyrique is not happy. While you were seeing things, the Cardinal Virtue left, and Reek gets so mad that he decides to dissolve your partnership. He'll give you your last payment in Gate Town, and that'll be the end of things. When he gives you the money, he has the audacity to call you a disappointment before he leaves. That has got to be the first time anyone ever said something so insane to a literal god slayer, but Ovara tries to explain the boy's actions. He didn't have any more money to pay you after this little outing, so like all of his friends before, he figured you'd abandon him. So to keep from being sad, he pushed you away himself so he could feel like he abandoned you and not the other way around. Still, she's worried about him. You're the only friend he's had in a while, and he may end up getting depressed and doing something stupid, so she'd like for you to check on him in the Crystarium. He's not in the usual spot, but the mage who was with Lambert, Reek's former partner, is there. He's no longer working with the man on account of him being dead. They fought Renda-Rae, and it went so bad that he ran away, but not before he saw Lambert get back up as a Sin Eater. He tried to stop other people from going after the Virtue, but they didn't listen, and they died too. He saw Reek head out to Raktika, so he's definitely still hunting the Virtue, and he's definitely gonna die. You rush off to Raktika, and fortunately find Reek sitting down looking dazed. He starts to tell you what happened, but the Echo does the work for him. He had confronted Renda, hoping to lay his hero's soul to rest, but she summoned Lambert and a group of other Sin Eaters who bear a striking resemblance to her old friends. He had no chance, but instead of killing him, they all just left. Reek thinks your little trick is useful, even though all that you saw only happened a few minutes ago. He still can't understand why you did it every time Renda-Rae appeared, which, if you can control it, I doubt those would have been the times you picked. Either way, the fact that Renda is rebuilding the Warriors of Light is a serious problem, but Reek doesn't understand why. If she's reliving her hunt of Balam like in the stories, she should be trying to fight it alone. But you know that wasn't true, and when you tell Reek, he realizes that he was making the same mistake Renda had by trying to hunt down a powerful beast on his own. After that, he actually apologizes for how he acted, which, being who you are, you accept without hesitation. So the two of you head back to hunting Renda, who is still likely in the area looking for Balam. But now it's not just her that Reek wants to put down. He may have had issues with Lambert, but he can't let him suffer as a Sin Eater. But first he wants to let Ovara know that he's okay because he knows she sent you. She's happy to see that the two of you have patched things up and are working together again. She obviously cares about Reek more than his own parents do, and to prove it, she's cooked dinner for you, which is far more valuable than money when you're getting ready for a fight, which is exactly what the two of you are about to do. Before the two of you head out to face the Virtue, Reek has a confession to make. He's not nearly as good at fighting as you are. In other news, fire is hot, and a brick to the face hurts. There are about 5 people who aren't gods or immortals that can match the Warrior of Light in combat, so it's not that big of a surprise for someone to be weaker than him. But Reek has gotten stronger since you started working together, so he won't hold you back that much. That was the main reason he dragged your hunt out for so long, which gave Renda-Rae time to form a full dungeon party. But it is what it is, and the two of you will have to deal with them all. However, Ovara does have an idea. Since she was a hunter in her younger years, battle is no stranger to her. In life, Renda had super hearing, so a Sin Eater form should have the same. which means loud noises can disable her and give you time to poke her with sharp objects. All that's left is to find something that can make a noise loud enough to hurt the woman. Before you can head out, one of Reek's dad's servants shows up with the orders for him to quit bounty hunting and come back to Yulmore so he can stop embarrassing his family with his failures. If he refuses, he'll not only lose his money, but his citizenship in Yulmore. With only a little hesitation, he tells the man to tell his dad to kick rocks, and he'll do what he wants with or without their money. They weren't really parents anyway, and he still has old Vara, who was his only real family. With that done, and a quick trip to the Crystarium to get some fire sand to make some noise-making arrows, a trip that forces Reek to do something us poor folk have had to do for ages called fetch quest, he learns what it means to truly be an adventurer, and the two of you head to Raktika to face down Renda-Rae and her Sin Eaters. She shows up, and fortunately the Echo doesn't try to get you killed this time, so the fighting begins. The noisemaker arrows that Reek made do incapacitate Renda, but her group protects her, forcing you to cut them down first. With them out of the way, you get to face Renda herself. She's strong, obviously, firing off level 3 limit breaks and everything, but the two of you take her down. She leaves behind a crystal, the same one you saw her pick up in the vision, and when you touch it, the real Renda-Rae appears. Well, it's a memory of her. She talks of how she and the others were together through it all, from the hunt to Balaam to fighting the Shadowkeeper, even sacrificing their lives to try to save their world, only to fail. She still felt like it was well worth it in the end, though. Reek wants to ask her what she's talking about, but she vanishes, so you fill in the details. Knowing their story hits Reek hard, especially the part where the Warriors of Light died to save the world, only to get labeled as villains. While it's done, Reek is happy to know the truth about the fallen heroes. He had been like everyone else, judging them and never trying to learn the truth. It made it easy to hunt the virtues when he thought of them as the monstrous souls of monstrous people. But knowing the truth, he hopes he helped Renda-Rae finally find some peace. In any case, the hunt is over. The virtue is slain, Renda-Rae is finally at peace, hopefully, and the Reek knows the truth about the Warriors of Light, and he wants to push himself to become as courageous as you and Renda, after he helps repay Ovara for all she's done to help him become the man that he is now. This concludes the story of the Cardinal Virtue Andreia. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And if you want to buy me a coffee for my work, sign up to become a member of the channel. Until next time, guys. Later.